and welcome to John Drinks, the channel in which I, John, have a drink. And today we're going to be carrying on our voyage of discovery along some of the Whyte Mackay core whiskies with this. This is Jura 10. You don't tend to see this whisky about too much anymore. It tends to be the 12-year-old or the prophecy or the superstition or all those other kind of whiskies that tend to get the attention. The 10 is still out there and you can still buy it, but for whatever reason it's kind of taken a sort of a back seat to the other whiskies in the range, which is a little unusual. But anyway, Jura, it's an island and they make whiskey. As I've already mentioned, I'm not going to be going too much into the backstory of the distilleries and all the sort of airy-fairy storytelling, because Whyte Mackay do storytelling very well. It's the whiskey that we're interested in, and that's what we're going to be looking at today. If you missed my review of the Dalmore 12 already, then there'll be links up there or also down below. And whilst you're down there as well, if you feel like supporting the channel, you have a variety of options. You can subscribe to the channel, you can leave me a comment, thumb it up, or there's even a link to my Patreon if you're feeling particularly benevolent and you want to chuck a couple of quid at the channel. That's all the plugging out of the way. Let's get on with the whiskey. It does tell us that it's 40%. And it's aged in Oloroso sherry butts, which is exciting. American white oak bourbon barrels for maturation, and then it's finished in the Oloroso barrels. And it says, a rich and rounded balance of subtle smoky notes with a sweet sherry cask finish. All about the alliteration there. And it is indeed coloured. You don't need to say that it has colouring in it in English, but you do need to say it in German. So if you know what the German is, it gives it away anyway. As I've already mentioned, all Whyte Mackay products are coloured because it's designed to be sort of a cosmetic constant, if you want a better way of putting it. Distilled, aged and bottled in Scotland, as well it should be. So, we're going to crack this open, we're going to nose it, we're going to taste it, and we're going to have some final thoughts about it. Into a nosing glass there. The nose on this one is eerily similar to the Dalmore. I should also say I'm recording a lot of these back to back, so I've got that memory fresh in my head. The glass has been emptied out, it's been cleaned, so there's no remnants of the Dalmore in there, and yet you'd think there was. There's a little bit more of sort of a slightly lemony note, a bit more smoke on the nose, but otherwise, yeah, a lot of those like sherried almond kind of notes are still there, and even a little bit of tobacco on it as well. It's very similar, I've got to say. But to taste it, it's super sweet. Super sweet. If the Dalmore 12 was marzipan, this is closer to royal icing. It's massively sugary and quite rich, like buttery caramel kind of notes. There's a dulce de leche kind of a thing going on. There's a little bit of a drying sort of raisin note in the finish. There is actually a finish on this one, whereas with the Dalmore 12 it just sort of suddenly stopped. It was like it hit the brakes and went, nope, we're done, get off. This one, there is a bit more of a development. There's a bit more of a finish. It wants to stick around a little while longer. There is a bit of an alcohol heat. It's not a burn, it's a bit of heat. And there is a wisp of smoke in that as well. It's a little bit fruity, in kind of a ethereal, generally fruity kind of, sort of like a tutti frutti note, rather than, I couldn't tell you what specific fruit that is because it's kind of just generic fruit, if that makes sense. You'd almost think it was an E number. But we'll give it a go with a bit of water, just to kind of see what happens. We're not expecting any Scotch mist because, as we already know, this will have had the fuck filtered out of it. Loads more of the smoke comes through on the nose now. It's like the gates to hell have been opened. It's not like a peaty kind of a smoke, it's more sort of like if you just walked into a room after somebody had finished burning some paper. It's that kind of a smoke smell. The sugar's given way a fair bit to more sort of a citrusy, buttery kind of thing. It's sort of like if you tried to do lemon buttercream. It's got a richness to it, but there's also like a citrusy zip to it. And then sort of like a sugared almond finish. It's good, but it's nothing remarkable. And I couldn't really tell you that there's any kind of a smoke presence on the flavour. There certainly is on the nose, but when it comes to actually tasting it, not really. Would I get it again? Probably not. I think I'd pass it over for something else. These do tend to be very affordable, Juras, but there's a reason for that. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with it. It's a perfectly respectable malt, this one. I just don't think I'd choose it over other 10-year-olds. There are definitely better 10-year-olds out there. It almost goes without saying. There are better younger whiskies out there. There's better sherried whiskey out there. It's just a bit meh and generic. There's nothing wrong with it, but there's nothing that helps it to stand out in the market. But that was my thoughts on the Jura 10. Let me know down below, what do you guys think of the Jura range? Do you like them? Do you hate them? What are your thoughts? And do join me next time, where we'll be drinking a Jura from yesteryear. Because I actually know what I'm doing in advance for a change, which is exciting.